Another shooting in Minnesota?
Federal officers have their hands full in Minnesota right now. One officer had his finger bitten clean off by an agitator yesterday. There are some pretty troubling photos of that online if anybody wants to look. Have you heard from any of the Democratic leadership in Minnesota about that? Tim Walz, Jacob Frey.
No, they haven't expressed any concern for injuries to our officers. And that's been going on for weeks. These are not just agitators anymore, they're violent protests. In fact, the state and the city of Minneapolis abandoned this area in downtown Minneapolis because they couldn't control the situation by the amount of people that have come in just trying to disrupt and impede law enforcement operations. And, frankly, this didn't turn violent until we uncovered the fraud in Minneapolis. We were there, ICE and CBP have been there and operating for years in Minneapolis. We saw the violence start to happen when the fraud became uncovered of the billions of dollars that was stolen from American taxpayers under the leadership of Governor Walz and Mayor Frey.
Imagine you're such a peaceful protester that you bit off a border agent's finger. These are the people that CNN and all these leftist mainstream media, fake news are calling peaceful. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just there to protest, their First Amendment right to protest. Imagine that, biting off one of the agent's finger.
And Mayor Frey.
President Trump is saying, this is a part of a Truth Social, the mayor and the governor are inciting insurrection with their pompous, dangerous, and arrogant rhetoric. How close is President Trump to invoking the Insurrection Act?
President Trump just wants to keep people safe, and he's applying the law and wanting to go out there and go after not just terrorists that we know were led into this country by the Biden administration, also dangerous criminals that, especially in Minneapolis, what we've been targeting is sexual predators, people who've been trafficking children. That's what this operation has been focused on, getting illegal people in this country that have been involved in that criminal activity. And then when the fraud was uncovered as well, we saw a resistance in Minneapolis like we haven't seen anywhere else in this country. In fact, encouraged by the governor at press conferences to go out and take to the streets and to resist law enforcement. It really is irresponsibility that we haven't seen out of someone in any other state.
So Insurrection Act on the table?
It's up to the president. He has the constitutional right to do that. He certainly has considered it. We've had discussions. We'll see what the best choice is to make sure that law and order is followed, but also that we're keeping people safe.
Nick Shirley uncovering the fraud in Minnesota in the healthcare system, the Leering Center, remember that? That has opened up a whole million cans of worms because of this. This is just crazy. Just listen to what Secretary Kristi Noem just said. Before that, there was no violence. That has a lot of consequences, what Nick Shirley did. I'm glad he did it because the fraud has to be uncovered. Now, as far as the Insurrection Act, I honestly don't know why President Trump has not already invoked the Insurrection Act. This is the situation escalating over there has been weeks now. I mean, the Insurrection Act should have been done a month ago or whenever that started. It is absolutely insane for me to think that President Trump hasn't issued the Insurrection Act already. Quite frankly, the 2024 Trump is a little bit disappointing for now. He's been a lot of talk. The only thing that has come out good is the shutting down the border. Other than that, everything seems to have not been the Trump of 2016. But getting back to the Insurrection Act, President Trump issued the Insurrection Act or there will be no Minnesota left.
Officers used their training, followed their protocols, and were in fear of their lives and the people around them. And that's how this tragedy unfolded, and we hope we never see it again. It grieves me to think about what his family is going through, but it also grieves me what's happening to these law enforcement officers every day out on the streets with the violence that they face.
Because you mentioned the family, they have a statement out now where they say they're angry and that Alex was just trying to protect a woman who was pushed down by ICE and pepper sprayed. But they also talked to the Associated Press and they said, we had this discussion with him 2 weeks ago or so, go ahead and protest, but do not engage, do not do anything stupid, basically. So what is your message this morning to Alex Pretti's parents?
Just that I'm grieved for them. I truly am. I can't even imagine losing a child. And I can't imagine a tragic situation. We can't have individuals that are impeding law enforcement operations and then showing up with guns and weapons and no ID and confronting law enforcement like that is one of the reasons that we see situations like this unfold.
Look, I feel bad for Alex Pretti. No one should have lost his life over something like this. But then again, why would you take a gun to an insurrection? I mean, make no mistake, this is not a protest, it's an insurrection. It's a situation, a high explosive situation that is going on. Now, again, if he just wants to exercise his Second Amendment right where he just wants to carry his gun, that's fine. Remember, guns don't kill people kill people. The problem is when you started waving your gun and attacking ICE agent officer, we can all see in the video clip where he's literally wrestling with like, I don't know how many agents there were, at least 6 of them. And then the gun went off. I mean, what did you expect? I mean, the tension are high, like I said, all these agents are on high alert. They're already having a nervous wreck just being there. And then you show up with a gun. At the moment, they don't know what you're going to do. They don't know if you're just there or you might be just a crazy person. So they react to it. So in that sense, I mean, I don't want to say that he deserved it, but I mean, come on. I mean, seriously, what would you expect if you take a gun to a riot and something breaks out? I mean, again, I mean, I feel bad for the parents and the family. Nobody should have lost his life. He should not have lost his life. That's all I'm saying.
Last night, our reporter in Minneapolis, Steve Harrigan, was out there monitoring everything that happened afterwards. And he said that there were a bunch of protesters in matching shiny yellow vests who basically took over the crime scene and they were directing traffic. It's very, very organized. Have you guys figured out yet who is organizing these protesters? Who is paying for them to be there, to stay out in the cold for something like a matching outfit?
Well, Peter, I want to remind you, these aren't just protesters. These are violent rioters. When you have local police, city police, and the state police that have to abandon an area of their community because they can't control the situation and they don't have citizens who will listen to them or honor law enforcement, that's not protesters. That's a violent riot, and it's out of control in Minneapolis. We don't know who is funding them, but there are investigations going into it. I know the Department of Justice is. I know that the Attorney General in Minnesota, the governor in Minnesota, and Mayor Frey, they all have confirmed that they've received subpoenas, that they will have to appear in front of a federal grand jury for a criminal investigation. I think that should be indicative of the fact that perhaps their leadership is not isolated from a lot of the corruption that we've seen throughout the state.
Of course, we know who's funding these protests. Of course, this is not just organic protests. We all know that. These kind of protests have been seen throughout the years. In the past, the BLM protest and No King protest, these are all paid agitators. Make no mistake about it. And one name that comes to mind is George Soros. George Soros has been funding this notoriously, but somehow I don't understand why they keep saying they don't know who's funding it. They absolutely know who's funding these things. I mean, I really hope that now with Trump there, even though I'm a little disappointed with how Trump has performed in this 2024 election, I really hope that he means it. We need to find these people and put an end to it because this is going to destroy the country, and Trump absolutely need to do it. I mean, he's always talking about draining the swamp. I mean, all these things gotta be done, President Trump. We need all these things done. Hold the people accountable. Follow the money, and you see who are the people that are funding this. Well, that's all for today, guys. If you're a conservative and you want the best for this country, hit the like button, subscribe, comment, and share. Until the next video, see ya.